Nie, bez przesady. Mhm. Nie dużo będę. We are destined to work together and I believe also to succeed. Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico said in Budapest at a joint press conference with his Hungarian counterpart Viktor Orban. With me in the studio today, Professor Piotr Bajda from the Cardinal Stefan Wyszyński University in Warsaw. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Good evening, thank you for the invitation.
Thank you very much. And on my right, Mihai Rosonci-Kovacs, International Director of the Nezupont Intézet. Thank you very much for coming.
Dziękuję bardzo, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So as the Slovak Prime Minister said, are we really destined, are we really doomed to cooperate within the Visegrad format, Professor?
We've already done for last 30 years after establishing of Visegrad Group in 1991. So it's nothing new. Of course, we have new times and new challenges, and it is why we are putting this question in public debate today.
Mm-hmm. And what's your opinion?
History teaches us that this region has almost always been exposed to the mercy of the great power play. If there is a great power vacuum, then either another great power will enter this vacuum or the cooperation will fill it out. For the freedom of our nations, for the flourishing of our countries, it's obviously better if this cooperation fills out the vacuum. And as Professor Bajda pointed out, the cooperation is there. There are fields of cooperation that just self-evidently puts or shows the need. I refer to the geopolitical one, but there is the economy. For example, if we consider the challenges posed by the Ukrainian flood, Ukrainian grains flooding our region, this was also an example. Obviously, on a political sphere, there are times when, let's say, the majority of the Visegrad countries are so-called sovereignist government. Then the political sphere, on the European political level, it's more striving. And at times when there are less of them, then basically the more pragmatic fields of cooperation need to be elevated.
So why actually this question is even asked, especially I would say on this political level, but most likely more from this progressive side, I believe, or maybe even from the Western, maybe European side that, they are questioning actually the V4. Some say even about something about the V2. I also heard this kind of debates, but I don't know actually who should be then in this V2. What do you think, Professor?
Well, I think that what is fascinating in Central Europe, it's different forms of cooperation in the region. So we have V4, we have Free Seas Initiative, we have Bucharest 9, and others. And every time it's some kind of response for new challenges and new threats. For example, V4 was established because the doors to Western Europe was quite closed, and we needed to build something here to be to be more attractive for Western partners. So if we are trying to understand where is V4 today, we have to understand that it is one, but not the only one instrument on foreign policy of each of our countries. And it depends on the situation. It depends on politicians on the top in all four countries. We have different using of this tool, what is called Visegrad 4. So it's more depends on us, on our internal situation, on our position in foreign relation, than from outsider partners, in my opinion.
And what is your opinion? And also, how do you see, let's say, the future with regards to the elections that maybe I'm exaggerating, but took place recently, let's say, in Poland and also Slovakia? How do you think, which direction V4 might go?
Well, it's if I mention that, let's say, simplifying sovereignty and more federalistic or globalist government, or the composition of different government in the countries obviously influence how actively they take part. Then Robert Fico's rise to power, as well underlined by the quotation you just started our program, shows that the Slovak change is in favor of the cooperation, whereas we know that in the leading party, the dominant party of the new Polish coalition, foreign policy priority is not officially Central Europe. If we recall the presidential debate of 2020, then Rafał Trzaskowski stated that for him the Weimar Triangle would be more important. But I think we should, and the Polish electors and also the new Polish government deserves respect of the other countries and deserves patience. If we recall, for example, that in the inaugural same session, Marek Sawicki, the president, inaugural president of the same from PSL party, stated that the Europe of Nations should be maintained. Then it's a sign that within this very colorful new Polish government, there are also elements and voices that are more in favor of strengthening the sovereign countries in Europe. And the V4 format is an idea, and basically it's an example of how the strengthening sovereignty does not mean going against cooperation. So the different formats mentioned by the professor often are considered as rival formats, that 3Cs is more important than V4, which is functional, which is not. They are, as professor stated, there are different tools for different fields of work, different cooperation. The advantage of V4 that it's quite compact, so it's easier to organize a conference of four leaders than 12.
More, yes.
13, oh yes,
more.
We have Greece already, and hopefully Italy will join too.
Okay, yeah, Professor, you wanted to also add something?
Well, no. Maybe only one thing that, as I know, the new potential partner for Free Seas initiative will be Finland.
Finland, oh, interesting.
Yeah, because my Lithuanian colleagues say that for the next presidential summit, Finland will be invited.
Oh, interesting.
But we see it happen.
Yes. And this is an evidence that 3Cs and V4 are not against each other, that we are talking about 3Cs. But if mentioned Finland, let me grab at the attention that if we consider really the 3Cs, without Italy, the Adriatic cannot fulfill its potential. So let me call upon inviting in Italy.
Okay. Please, we can take this opportunity to invite Italy to the 3Cs initiative. We will see why not, the more the better. In this case, let's have a good infrastructure going through north to the south. And what do you think? Do you see a potential if we're thinking about the Visegrad for example, in the, let's say, some kind of military cooperation, looking, for example, at the Russia threat, because I believe that we as the V4 especially understand the situation. And do you see some kind of military cooperation as possible, let's say, additional tool to it?
I did before the last election in Slovakia, because maybe today it's not so fresh information, but when the previous Slovak government decided to give MiG aircraft to Ukraine, there was the special Czech-Slovak-Polish agreement signed to protect Slovak airspace by Polish and Czech jets. So it was some good first step for such kind of cooperation in military field. Of course, we already did it. We have the V4 Better Group within the European Union. It's one of the solid form of military cooperation among us. But of course, open question in my opinion is how to build good atmosphere for cooperation of military industry sector. And it is something what I see as a lack in this different sphere of cooperation within the Visegrad Group.
And Mihai, do you think it's possible to maintain some kind of a military cooperation on a bigger scale within our two neighboring countries?
With regards to the Russian threat, our strategy is the same as also was pointed out by Prime Minister Viktor Orbán last February, that but he referred to the Hungarian and Polish strategies being identical with this respect, but it can be broadened to the whole V4, basically to to minimize the Russian threat to the minimum level as possible. And our region, the V4 region, and basically this Central European region is most exposed to the possible threats. So it's not an accident that if we recall, for example, the Przevodów tragical incident, during the hours when it couldn't have been excluded that it could have been a not Ukrainian rocket, but from a great power, then many of the European government granted full solidarity with Poland, whereas Hungary granted full support. So basically, it was a clear evidence that in case one of our countries would be under imminent and direct threat, then we really should be swiftly ready to go to help each other with any means.
Maybe I would also see some kind of a potential, because we know that we're mostly buying equipment from, of course, our, let's say, allies, but the process of receiving actually the equipment is very long. Especially if we're talking about, I believe, the military equipment from US. We will see, especially in the case of Poland, what will happen with the equipment from South Korea, because I think there are some doubts regarding the contract that the previous government did. Do you see maybe some kind of a potential in maybe cooperating in the I don't know, creating some kind of equipment between our countries? Is it possible, or we are, let's say, it's not the goal in such, let's say, cooperation?
Well, I'm not linked with military sector, so it's quite difficult for me to answer to your question. But as I remember, there was the idea to build even joint venture company, Polish Slovak, to construct together uh, some kind of armed car for in Finland soldiers, and it's called in Poland Rosomak.
Yeah.
And but as I know, the decision of not now but previous FISOS government was to stop this cooperation. So potentially we can cooperate together because there is some part of this military industry sector in each of our countries. And of course, it's much better than during the communist period. And we are able to offer something, some good product for partners from outside. And it's just political will if we want to do or not.
And do you think we could become some kind of a, let's say, innovation hub? Because I have this feeling that, in the EU, we have still lack of innovation. I don't know, lack of, or maybe not lack, but we have too much of the bureaucracy. We have lack of, some kind of energy strategies. Do you think that we as a V4 could become like innovation hub, for example?
Just one sentence to the previous topic, that for sure dangerous times call for strong countries, and the Polish army development is an example to the whole of the NATO, and also the Hungarian military development is going very fast. So this should be underlined. That which concessions or which means, obviously any kind of collaboration should be taken into consideration, but to strengthen our military capacity is a strategical goal for every one of us. As for, so you meant the V4 or
the V4? I mean, I believe that in the EU we have some problems, with the innovation, bureaucracy, lack of the energy strategy, and I'm wondering if we as the V4 could become the innovation hubs, looking at the whole EU itself. Maybe, I'm too idealistic, but we are still in the beginning of the year, so...
But I think generally the V4 and Central Europe now could bring motivation. It is a motivated region. We have the feeling that it's our turn, basically. The founding fathers created something beautiful with the European structure, the Europe of putting the fundamentals of the strong nations and cooperation. And now it's our turn, because we somehow, or I sometime have the impression that the founding members, or some elites of the founding members of Western European countries, tend to forget what this cooperation, integration has to be about. It has to be about competitiveness, innovation, join our forces where integration brings fruits. But sometimes we see that this integration process became a per se process without clear motives for different fields. But now, Central Europe, if we consider the growth of the economy and generally the political freshness of this region, it is as if it was our turn to bring on our shoulder Europe. We are the motors of economy, and why not innovate? Obviously, innovation with the current technical development needs really a lot of resources, so it is a more complex. I think we could be an impetus for a European innovation. So alone our region to compete with China, with America in fields of innovation, I'm not an expert, but I doubt it that without a European innovation it could work. But to give example, as on a political level, the V4 already did, surely, why not?
Very I really like, this very optimistic, perspective for the future. But also some experts in the EU already are mentioning the, let's say, EU of two speeds. I hope I'm translating it correctly. I mean, in Polish, we're calling it dwóch prędkości, two speeds. I hope, I translated it correctly. So it means that those countries that would be in the core will have the right and will decide of actually the rest and all of the policies and strategies in the EU. And I have the feeling that Slovakia, Poland, Hungary actually will be somehow pushed out, of the core. And what do you think? What is the answer to this? What is happening? And I'm also mentioning here the giving up of the right of veto in the EU, because I believe that it will mostly influence Poland and Hungary in this case. So what do you think? What should be, or what is the answer of V4 countries, especially to what's happening right now in the EU?
I think that what is fascinating in history of European integration, that just from the beginning it was multi-speed format of cooperation among states, because members of European Union, it doesn't mean members of Schengen zone. It doesn't mean members of Eurozone. Even it doesn't means members of other formats of European cooperation, like Prosecurity Office of the European Union. So it was quite useful to have a chance to use this procedure of opt-out. It means that we are adopting something, or not now, or never. And it was the strength of European Union. Now we have extremely different approach towards integration, that everything should be the same. It means in place of opt-out, we have centralization process, and it's quite far even from federalization process of European Union, and it is something what personally I feel like a danger for unity of European Union, in fact, because pushing too strong in direction of pushing too strong, it will be a rising of nationalism in different places, and it is what I am afraid very much.
Like certainly, and just one thing, you said that it's dangerous towards the diversity, and actually the motto of the EU is united in diversity, but maybe they should change it.
Okay, but it doesn't mean how you are going to define diversity. Could be just language. It's okay. It will be.
Then it will be still in compliance.
Languages. A lot of interpreters during the meetings of European Unions, etc. Or diversity in a form of government, in form of tradition, etc. And we should define what is more important for us when we are talking about diversity.
And let us not forget that the so-called veto right is not really a veto, is a need for consensus. And it's the essence of the democratic construction of the EU, that is composed of the democracies. So it should be the democracy of the democracies. So if we waiver this need for consensus other than the treaties, then basically the single national elections will lose their meanings. Because currently what we have, that there are the treaties, everyone has to adhere to that, and the voters electing parliaments, and then through the parliaments governments, know which are the competences that no matter who will govern or what will the European history bring about in the next 4 years. What are the competences that are not in the sovereign's hand, but which are those who are. And basically, if they vote a government, give them a mandate on a certain competence, which is during that 4 years period is taken by the majority of governments elected by other nations, that basically it means that the national elections lose their motive, and they become just a facade, a theater that we here in this zone witnessed already during the communism. So we have the treaties, and if something happens that the treaties do not foresee, then there is the need for consensus. That's the basics of democracy. If we destroy this fundamental pillar of the European democracy, then it's basically the beginning of the end of the democracies.
So, yeah.
If I can add something, because this veto example is very good to describe the function of European Union. When we decided in a referendum to access to European Union, European Union was built on this way to find the compromise, to discuss as long as necessary to design a decision adopted by all of members. Now we have more procedure to order to decision prepared by the biggest power, and just to announce to the rest what we have to do. And this is something what was changed in our eyes.
Okay, so what we should do? Like, what should be the... I mean, like, we probably cannot do anything, but then what should be done on the political level? Because I believe that countries of the Western Europe would vote, to get rid of the veto. But what should be the answer of V4 and also probably all of the 3Cs, I believe, countries, because it's in our interest to have this right, not to go with the flow, with the rest.
Well, there are the treaties. Everyone has to adhere to the treaties. What the dangerous thing that started some years or a decade ago, that the so-called the big part of the mainstream federalistic elite used interpretation of law on a political sphere, and the sovereignist countries adhere very strictly to and try to find these on a legal level. And since they are disadvantageous, they have disadvantageous positions in the media, basically, those legal interpretation backed by the advantages of the media tend to be stronger. So we still have to stick to law and basically to fight for democracy and rule of law. I know that these countries
it's quite flexible,
yes,
the rule of law.
Yes, but really, and not, for example, not let these sacred notions slip out of the hands of the sovereignists, because currently, where democracy and rule of law and the respect for the treaties lie, is way more Hungary and Poland than Brussels elite. So, and obviously, if the treaties need to be changed, or we want to face the quest of times, there is the possibility Hungary is open to the reforms, or proposed some reforms, for example, to go back to the times when the national parliaments sent the MEPs to the European Parliament, so that the legitimation is stronger, and to guarantee that the European Parliament becomes really the parliament of the nations, and so on and so on. This can be a debate, but for changing the treaties there has to be a consensus. Until then, everyone has to adhere to the treaties. So basically what remains is to try and force not to misinterpret and use these immense structures that really are destroying and dismantling the treaties and the EU from Brussels.
Do you have anything, Professor, to add?
Well, maybe what can we do? I think that at public sphere we are able to rise or to launch any kind of debate to promote coming back to the roots of European Union. And it is why what as an expert, as academics, we are able to do. And to show the dangers of such kind of centralization for whole project, what was a turning point in history of Europe. So we are able to reverse these factors, and I hope in future we'll be able to come back to this debate: who is for whom? It means European Union is for member states, or member states are for European Union bureaucracy.
Yeah. And in this sense, for example, we always have that the Commission and the European institutions are giving degrees and labels to the rule of law states of the member states. Why not take under a microscope, or even not microscope, why not take into account how they adhere to the basics of rule of law and the democracy, like the European Parliament, changing from a night to a day its own rules of how to count the votes, referring to the definition of the Oxford Dictionary in a legal debate. So seeing from Budapest, there are serious lacks within the EU institution as for rule of law. We should point them out and speak about how often they seem to be politically driven. Now we see that the Commission is blackmailed by the European Parliament. There is a scandal with corruption that we see that the European Parliament is influenced from, might be influenced from external forces. So we should bring these debates also on a political level, because I know that in Poland, really magnificent legal works show how for example, the fundamental rights chart is misinterpreted. Some parts are considered, some are not considered, really. But these debates should also brought to the political debate and public discourse debate.
And regarding this cooperation with the, let's say, bigger powers, do you think that V4 countries are, well, maybe not destined, but are also doomed to, let's say, I don't know if I would call it correctly, like feudal cooperation with, for example, Germany? Or are we able, or can we be even more assertive and maybe choose, I don't know, different big partners?
It's a good question, because, of course, each of our countries had different starting point in the moment of economic and political transformation in 1989. For each of us, Germany is the biggest partner in any kind of exchange of goods and service. But what was interesting a few years ago, the Center for Eastern Studies, the state-funded think tank, focusing on post-communist and Central European issues, published the report that showing that not only our countries depend on cooperation with Germany, but it's the same in vice versa. It means Germany depends on cooperation with our countries. It's quite good to use this tool. And especially now when we are facing a stagnation of German economy, when it was showed that Germany received Russian gas for 30% of the market price. So it means that without this cheap gas, German economy is not so competition like it was before the Russian aggression against Ukraine. So now it's good time to change these relations. Of course, it's necessary to have political will to discuss with German partners, showing that okay, 30 years is enough of dependence. Now let's start to build on more partner level. This our world.
I fully agree to V4 each of the V4 countries. For example, if we consider external trade exports by country, Germany is by far the most important partner, and especially with the Russian aggression and the Western answers on the aggression. Basically, this situation from that point of view won't change. And this is, as Professor said, for example, from a German's point of view, the German-Chinese external trade fell behind for years. I'm not currently know the actual, but fell behind the German V4 external volume of the external trade. Generally, whereas we talked about that on a military level, the eastern flank of the NATO, basically V4, has to be very strong and basically to be a strong wall against the possible aggression. Or if the same applies to economy, that might be disadvantageous for the region, because if there are walls created between civilizations, then basically those territories that are within these walls or close to the walls go down. Whereas they are more, if they are able to function as a kind of bridge, then they flourish. So the big challenge of the V4 and also 3Cs to be able to diversify this military and the economy and market approach. So be very strong on a military level, and at the same time not to let the meeting point of this civilization completely closes, and there is no market, no economical flux between these countries. Obviously, other possibilities are there. Let me go back. The point that, for example, as for exports, the second most important partner of Hungary is Italy. So for the for V4, the fact that finally we have a government with Giorgia Meloni, a prime minister, who is well aware of the importance of Central Europe, is talking about recalling John Paul II, that Europe needs this part of their lungs, is a moment to use better the regional Italian opportunities.
Thank you very much. So to sum up our event, I would like to ask you, let's say in like 5 words, what do you think would be, or maybe more than 5, but what do you think would be biggest challenges for V4 in 2024? Mihai?
The most difficult question, but it's okay.
Or you can have more than 5, words.
I think obviously, for example, if we consider that basically one of the most important relation of the V4 is the Hungarian-Polish, because Poland is the biggest country, so Poland's approach is definite and determinant, whereas in the last decades it was always Viktor Orban who seemed to be the most keen or most active in this cooperation. So given that now the new Polish government is from a different political family and background, this would be certainly an important challenge. That at the same time that there might be some harsh debates in some political ideological spheres, the need, what we started our discussion, that there are fields where the pragmatic cooperation is important and essential, no matter what colors the different governments are composed of. To find these ways certainly is one of the most important challenges, which seems to be this was the challenge, and certainly another aspect of the V4 is the Hungarian-Slovak cooperation, which historically is a relation that can be described also full of challenges, and now we might face a year when the historical cooperation can take place in the Hungarian-Slovak
And flourish.
Relations.
Mm-hmm. And Professor, in your opinion?
Fortunately, I have more than 5 words.
I was not counting,
Okay. First of all, I'm afraid that 2024 will be turning point for Visegrad Group, because what we are observing now, it's quite passive Czech presidency in V4, with cancelling of meeting of prime minister, etc. It looks like Visegrad cooperation in 1993 and 1998, just after split of Czechoslovakia. So, in my opinion, everything will be depend on next Polish presidency in V4 in the second part of this year. If it will be active presidency, I will be happy. But today it's difficult to predict what kind of plan is in our Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And another challenge is, from Polish point of view, is to combine Polish presidency in Visegrad Forum with Polish presidency in European Union. What will be with the beginning of next year. So it's a question if we'll have enough staff to organize activities for both of formats of Polish leadership in these two different formats.
The government consists of many parties, so I think there must be a lot of positions, but we will see, Of course, there are a lot of challenges, but I believe the cooperation is very important, and I hope that both 4 countries will find, let's say, common voice and common strategy to work together. Thank you very much for this interesting discussion. Thank you very much, Professor. Thank you very much, Mihai, for joining us today, especially to you, because you came especially from Budapest to join us at this event. So, big thanks. And I'm wishing also our viewers a nice evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dziękujemy.